this is Crystal Moon Creations, and today I want to share with you the tutorial for this beaded necklace I am wearing. Now this necklace is made using the QuadBows and the PieDuos that came in the October Potomac bead box. If you watched my finished products video that I put up last week, it was included in it, and you can get a better look at the finished necklace there. I'll link it down below if you're interested in seeing the finished products. One of my cats came over and had to check out what I'm doing. Can you hear him purr? He has the cutest little purr. Right, Mimi? Where's your baby? Okay, getting back to business. Now I recorded this necklace before I had actually put it together because the QuadBows and PieDuos are new beads and I didn't have access to more to do a sample and then make up the tutorial for you guys. So you are doing it with me. So because of that, you'll notice in the beginning I didn't realize I needed chain to finish it around the back, which you can see here. So the beads do go along a good portion of it and it is chained in the back. I think if I had known that in the beginning how short it was going to be, I would have maybe done the top row of beads without the QuadBows and PieDuos just around the back so I didn't have the chain. But even with the chain, it looks very nice. I really like this necklace. I love the QuadBow and PieDuo. The people who create these bead shapes are really amazing. And it's just so fun to see how all these different shapes can come together and fit into a necklace or any other kind of beading project. So I'm gonna give you guys one more closer look at this necklace. And from here you could see how the QuadBows and PieDuos fit together so beautifully. Now I did this necklace, it was Halloween time, so I did it with the skulls. Not saying these skulls can only be worn at Halloween. I think because it's a blue color, it could be worn whenever. But the dangling portion can be interchanged with any other kind of bead. It could put a drop bead there or anything else. Okay, with all that said, let's get into the materials. The main beads we will be using are the new QuadBow and the PieDuo from this month's Potomac bead box subscription. And then we will be using some 15 O's, 11 O's, 4mm, I have two different colors here, and a magnesite skull I'm using as my dangle, and this is 7mm. We also have two wire guards, and at the end I will be using some jump rings and a lobster clasp to close this. And I'll write the list of items down in the description. So now for our thread, I'm going to do this project with 2 needles. You could do this with one, go through the whole project and then come back and do the second. So I put about 2 wingspans of thread on these needles. I have them even and I am going to start with the wire guard. So I'm going to take a needle and go down each side. There we go, like that. Okay, and trying to keep the thread even. Now, when I'm here, I just want to pinch this a little closed because I'm going to be having this wire guard go into the same bead on both sides. So I want that end a little bit closer. There we go. Now, with both my needles, I'm going to put them together and I'm going to grab an 11O. And they are going to share this bead. There we go. And I'm pulling all that down, and I'm pulling that down to the wire guard. Okay. There we are. And that's what we should have when we're ready to start threading on. So with this needle, we are going to pick up, and this is going to repeat the whole pattern down. So an 11O, a 4mm, 11, 15, 11, 4mm, 11, 15, 11, and this 4mm I'm going to pick up the other color. This is the one that's going to sit above the bow. And finishing the pattern, we're going to do 11 and a 15. Okay. So now from here, I am going to slide into the last hole on one of the QuadBows on this side. So I'm going to go this way through it. Okay. Pull that down. There we are. Now this is going to sit like this. So now to connect this quad bow to this, I'm going to go up the next hole, go down the hole after that, and go back up the last hole, and I'm coming back out on the top where we started. All right, so from here, I am then going to get into that first 15-0 before this little stack of beads. And come out the other 15-0. And when you pull that tight, it should make that bead just sit nice and centered on top of that quad bow and just anchored in there. That's what the pattern is going to be for the top thread. And we're going to keep doing that the whole way down. But at the same time, now I'm going to switch my needles and I'm going to start the second thread. So now I am starting with the second thread. First thing you'll pick up is 6 15-0s, 1 11-0, 1 more 15-0, and then we are going to catch this 15-0 between the first two 4 millimeters. There we go, just catching that. Make sure we pull this all nice and tight so the project doesn't have gaps in the beginning. So now once you're coming out of that 15-0 from the first thread, we're going to grab 1 more 15-0 and 11-0, and we are going to go through one of the PieDuos. And we're going in on the side with the point and coming out the bottom. And here you want to grab 3 more 15-0s, 1 11-0, and 1 skull going through the top. And to end that, you're going to do 1 more 11-0. So you should have that. We're going to go pull everything tight. And then we're going to go back through the skull, skipping the last 11-0, and also catch the next 11-0 and 1 15-0, and pull that all nice and tight. From here, we're going to add 2 more 15-0s, and we are going to go up that other hole of the PieDuo. Now, coming out of the top of this PieDuo, I want to grab these beads here. So starting with the 11-0 and the 15-0 after it. And then if you can get the 15-0 that was from the first bead track, we're going to go in there. And then we're also going to go down the next 2 beads that are leading to the other side of the PieDuo. So there, we're going through those 2 coming down that side. And I'm just going to make sure everything is nice and tight. We're continuing on with that second thread. I am now going to pick up 5 15-0s, and I am going to go into the first hole of this quad bow from the bottom of the project. Okay, and now when I'm coming out on top, I also want to make sure that I go back in the same side I came out of and not wrap around the first row of beads. Okay, so now I'm going in the second hole of the quad bow. All right, so this is where my thread's coming out of, the second hole on the bottom. Now here we're going to add another of these skull dangles. So like the first one, we're going to pick up 3 15-0s, 1 11-0, 1 skull from the top down, and 1 11-0. Now also on this one, I'm going to add another of the 4 millimeter bicones. So after that 11-0, I'm putting on the bicone and grabbing 1 more 11-0. So I'm going to slide this down a little bit up to the project. And then I'm taking the needle and skipping that first 11-0 and going through the bicone 11-0, skull bead, the next 11-0, and 1 of the 15-0s. There we go. So you can see. Okay, and pulling that nice and tight. From here, we're going to add 2 more 15-0s. And now we're coming out of the second hole. We're going to go up the third one from the bottom. And then we are going to go down the last hole. There we are. And you should have something like this. Make sure all my threads are tight. We're good. Now, this will be the basis of the entire necklace. So I'm going to just go around and do that one more time. And then I'm going to repeat this step until I run out of my quad bows, which I got 12 altogether. All right, so we're going to repeat this pattern now. I'm going to make sure I'm picking up my thread from the top row. Okay, and then I'm not tangled in my other thread. Yes, I'm good. So now we're going to start repeating. So we're coming out of here. Where we're going to start is this second 11-0. Then we're going to start repeating this all the way again. So we are going to do 11-0, a bicone 4mm, an 11-0, a 15-0, an 11-0, another bicone, an 11-0, a 15-0, an 11-0. Now we're going to take one of the other colored 4mm and finish the pattern with an 11-0 and a 15-0. Okay, so this is what each pattern is going to be when we go through this. So we're here, we are now ready for our next quad bow, and we're going in the last hole on this side, going that way, pulling that down, and we are going to weave through the quad bow to come out the other of the holes. So through the second hole. Okay, now we're going through the third hole. Okay, and I'm going to try to pull this tight before I go through too many of the holes. There we go. Now we're going through the fourth hole. And we should be on the side that we started on. See, both coming out the top. And this gets turned as such. And I am going to catch the 15-0, 11-0, 4mm, 11-0, and 15-0. And making sure that's all tight. And I put my thread to the side so then I could work, I'm switching back to the other thread. So now from this point here on the other thread we're picking up, I am going to start with this right here. So well, we're not reversing, but we're picking up the same pattern. The pattern is always going to be 5 15-0s, 1 11-0, 1 15-0, and we are going to catch the 15-0 from the original track. There we go, see? Catch that one, pull that tight. And now we are going to do another 15-0 and 11-0. And we're going to go through the top of one of the PieDuos, like that. And under that, then we're going to pick up 3 more 15-0s, 1 11-0, the top of a skull, and another 11-0. Okay, pull all that down. Okay, we are going to skip that first 11-0 again, go through the skull, catch the next 11-0 and the 15-0, and pull that tight. Here, then we want 2 more 15-0s, and we're going to go through the other side of the PieDuo. From here, I want to catch this 11-0 right here, and the next 15-0. And then I want to go into this first 15-0 from the original track again that we started with. Go through there. And then I'm going to come down through the next 15-0 and 11-0 on the other side of that PieDuo. There we go. Okay, making sure everything has a nice snug pull. Now I will say before we go further, this one here, you see how the bicone's a little crooked? I'm gonna just give this a little pull and try to give it a little slack. Just a bit. That'll give it a little bit of room so that bicone isn't so tight on there and it won't be hanging so crooked. Just make sure that bead gets a little tug. Okay, that looks better. So continuing on, I'm going to be picking up 5 15-0s, and we are going to go into the bottom of the next quad bow. There we are. Remembering to stay on the same side that we're coming out of so we don't cross over that first thread and get stuck. We are then going to go through the second hole. And once we're at the second hole, we're going to add the next dangle. Now the next dangle is going to be like this one again. So we are getting 3 15-0s, 1 11-0. We're going to go through the top of a skull bead, another 11-0, a bicone, and another 11-0. I'm going to slide all that down. I'm going to skip the first 11-0, go through the bicone, 11-0, skull, 11-0, and one of the 15-0s. Okay, make sure we pull that up. Now to finish this little dangle, I'm going to add 2 more 15-0s, going through the third hole. And then back down the fourth. And make sure everything is nice and tight. And again, if this dangle's hanging a little crooked, you can pull it slightly and give it a little slack so it has room. And that is the pattern. We are going to continue on repeating that until we run out of the quad bows. So my set only came with 12. So I'm going to make this 12 quad bows long, and that's going to give me 13 of the PieDuos long. I just wanted to stop and give you an update before I finish this, is that if you really wanted to, you could do the one thread all the way through first, and then go in and do the second thread. So this half I did alternating every group, and then I would switch. And the second half I'm doing it where I'm doing the first thread all the way through, and then I'm going to go back with the second thread and add all the dangles. So whatever your preference happens to be, it will work out fine. If you did want to do this with one needle, you can do the whole first row, come up to here, turn around, and then go back and add the dangles with the one thread. And I have just finished my dangle on the last quad bow. So now to finish this necklace, we are going to repeat the same thing that's on this side after the quad bow. So we have 2 more sets of bicones, and we're ending with 2 11-0s and going into the wire guard. So we're going to repeat that on this side. So we're going to get an 11-0, 15, 11-0. We're going to do a bicone, 11-0, 15, 11-0, bicone. And now to repeat this side, we're just going to do 2 11-0s at the end. And that's going to be the last of the beads for the top row thread. So I'm going to just bring this all nice and close. From there, I'm going to go through the wire guard, but I'm just going to give these a little pinch to get those legs closer. So up one side of the wire guard and down the other. Okay, so that is the top row done. For the bottom row thread, we are just going to do one more of the PieDuo sets. So coming out of that last quad bow on the last hole, I'm going to take 5 15-0s, 1 11-0, 1 15-0, and I'm going to do the same thing I've been doing, which is catching that in between 15-0 right here. Got that. And going through. And on the other side, same thing we've been doing, 1 15-0, 1 11-0. We're going to go through our PieDuo, and we're going to add 3 more 15-0s. Grab 1 11-0, go through our skull, another 11-0. Okay, and now here I'm going to skip that last 11-0, go through the skull, grab an 11-0 and a 15. Coming out of the first 15-0 here, we're going to grab 2 more 15-0s, go through the other hole of the PieDuo. Okay, make sure that's all tight. So now coming out of that PieDuo, we're going to grab the 11-0 here, same as we've been doing. Go through the 15 of the main wire, the main thread, and go down through the 15 and 11 on the side. Now that was the same we've been doing, so that wasn't any change. And from here, the last step is the last of the beads. The only difference we're gonna do, where we usually put 5 into the next bow, we're gonna put 6 15 O's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we are gonna go into the last 11 O. Okay, and pull that nice and tight. Also from here, I'm gonna go up and back down the wire guard to try to get this all nice and closed in with both threads. Okay, now I'm going through the first bead on this one as well. So now with my other thread, I'm gonna do the same thing. Just go through that first bead there. All right, I'm gonna give both these threads a nice tug. Try to finish this necklace nice and tight. There we are. So coming out of the wire guard and the first bead, I have both threads now. I'm gonna again just give them both a nice tug and make sure they're tight. And I'm gonna tie a knot in this. And pull them down. I'm gonna do it again. This time I'm gonna do a double knot. Just making sure I guide the knot into where it's supposed to be in between those first two 11 O's. There we are. All right, now I'm gonna take my shorter thread, which is the one I did the dangles with, and I'm going to jump in a few of these beads. Now I am going to go with this thread up until I reach the 15 O that goes into the bow. Then I'm going to anchor a knot behind that one more time. So here we're looking, this next 15-0 is the one that's anchored to the QuadBow. I'm going to try to get through that. There we go. And I'm going to put another knot behind that. There we go. Give that a nice tug. I'm going to go down the thread path, come out through the next, after the next 15-0, and again, put a knot behind that. Now I'm picking these 15-0s because they are anchored going down into the project. So none of my threads when I tie knots can slide back down the path. They're going to stay in place because the thread is then going that way. I'm going to then go through a few more beads and burn this thread at the end of that. So I'm going to take my thread zapper and I am going to just trim off this. Now again, this is the bottom thread of the project. I only had this much left, so that's gone. So now with the top thread I have, the longer piece, I'm actually going to go through the entire topper of this project and just reinforce it. Okay, now to end the second thread, and I'm coming out the last 11-0 up here. So I'm going to go through the wire guard one more time. And I'm gonna go through that first bead. Make sure your thread stays in your thread path. Mine escaped. So I'm coming out that first bead and I am just gonna tie a knot right there. Okay, I'm gonna do that again. I'm gonna go through, make a loop, and this time I'm gonna do a double knot on top of that and pulling that tight. I'm just gonna go through and tie a few more knots in the project. And once I went through a few beads and tied a few knots, it's just going to get thread zapped as well. There we are. So this is the finished beading portion of this necklace. Now I will say, if I was making this again, I would get more QuadBows and make this longer. Because using every QuadBow they gave me, the 12, this is only 11 inches long. And for a collar style necklace, I like them to be closer to 18. So now in the back, I'm going to have to add some chain to complete this. So then it'll hang at the right height. To finish this off, I've pulled out some jump rings and a lobster claw and also some chain. Now personally, how I get the measurements for this to know how much chain I need to add in the back for the closure, I attach one side of the chain to the back and go up to the mirror and see where it hangs. So I attach the one end on there. Then I'm going to just go in the mirror and look, and then wherever it falls, that's where I'm going to cut the other end. I'm holding my finger where it was, and oddly enough, it's about 7 inches, giving this whole necklace about 18. So I was right when I was thinking before that I like necklaces with the collar, about 18 inches. So I'm going to snip the link. And now this other side, I'm going to directly connect to the other wire guard. Grabbing the chain and putting it on the wire guard. Now I know this chain has no opening yet, but I do it like this because then I can, here we go, line this up, and I can measure the chain right down here and just snip the last link. Then I'll have 2 equal chains. So now we're at the ends here. One is going to get a lobster claw, the other one is going to get just a larger jump ring, so it's easier to close. Starting the jump ring on the chain and getting in the lobster claw. There we are. I'm going to close this like so. Then the other side is just going to get the large jump ring. And there we go, closing that. There is the finished necklace. I really like how the QuadBows come together in this, along with the PieDuos. They are both very fun shapes to work with. Thank you for watching the video. I hope that this tutorial can bring you some inspiration on how you could use your PieDuos and QuadBows as well. And I just wanted to say to all the people who commented, liked, and subscribed, thank you, thank you, thank you. I have such deep felt gratitude to everybody who takes the time out of their days and life to sit here and watch something that I created. So thank you, thank you. I'm going to see you guys in the next one.